I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this, but here I am. My name's Mike, and my life just got turned upside down in the worst way possible. I met Sarah when I was in college. She was gorgeous, confident, and a little bitchy sometimes, but I loved her anyway. We got engaged after a couple of years of dating, and I was pretty damn sure we were heading toward a happy future together. At least I thought so. Things started feeling weird about 2 months ago. Small things, really. She'd suddenly be distant, distracted, and sometimes she'd cancel plans last minute or come home late, smelling like perfume I didn't recognize. She'd brush it off with some bullshit excuse, work stress. Just tired, nothing's going on. But I knew better. I felt like I was losing her, like something was slipping through my fingers and I couldn't put my finger on what it was. I'd ask her and she'd get bitchy, roll her eyes and tell me I was paranoid, that I was overreacting. Classic Sarah. The worst part, I started noticing little things that didn't add up. Her phone was always on silent when she was around me, and she'd hide it or shove it in her purse if I got near. When she thought I wasn't looking, I saw her texting, but she'd quickly hide the screen. I figured maybe she was just trying to protect my feelings, but deep down, I felt something was wrong. I didn't want to be that guy accusing her without proof, but the gut feeling kept gnawing at me. Then, last week, I made a mistake. I was cleaning out her purse. I know, maybe a little obsessive, but I found a receipt from a hotel downtown. It was for a night she claimed she was at her sister's house. That's when I started digging. I went through her messages on our shared cloud account and I found a string of texts between her and my best friend, Jake. They weren't just friendly. There were flirty messages, jokes about how long they could keep this hidden, and even plans to meet up later that week. I couldn't believe my eyes. My stomach dropped. My wife, who I thought I knew, was cheating on me with Jake right before our wedding. I mean, they were planning to run away together. I don't even know how to describe the feeling. It's like someone punched me in the chest and I couldn't breathe. All those years of trust shattered in an instant. I kept thinking about how she lied to me, told me she loved me while she was secretly planning to run off with him. It was so surreal, so disgusting. I felt sick, angry, betrayed, devastated. I didn't sleep that night. I just stared at the wall, trying to process what I'd seen. The next day, I couldn't keep it inside anymore. I knew I had to confront Sarah, but I didn't want to do it in some calm, sappy way. I wanted her to see how much she'd screwed up, how deeply her lies cut me. So I waited until she came home from work, trying to keep my cool, but my hands were trembling. I had everything laid out, the receipts, the screenshots, the texts. I wasn't about to let her deny it or spin some bullshit story to save her ass. When she walked in the door, looking all confident and bitchy as usual, I just snapped. I slammed the evidence on the table and said, "What the hell is this, Sarah? What are you doing with Jake?" Her face instantly turned from confident to defensive, like she was caught off guard, but her eyes flickered with that familiar, manipulative glint. She scoffed, trying to act like I was overreacting. "Mike, you're crazy," she said with that fake smile, trying to brush it off. "This is nothing. You're blowing things out of proportion. It's just some stupid joke, or maybe you're jealous because Jake is my friend and you're feeling insecure." I could feel my blood boiling. I looked her straight in the eyes and said, "You've been lying to me for months. You've been sneaking around, hiding your phone, planning to run away with him. How could you do this? How could you lie to my face and pretend everything's fine?" She started to get bitchy then, raising her voice, deflecting, saying I was paranoid, that I was overthinking everything. She told me I was just insecure, that Jake was just a friend, and I was imagining things, that she loved me and would never do something like that, but I knew it was all bullshit. I saw the messages. I knew what I saw. There was no denying it anymore. Her reaction was almost like she was angry at me for catching her, like I was the one in the wrong. She kept insisting she didn't do anything wrong, that I was just jealous, that I was imagining things because I didn't want to believe she was capable of cheating on me. And then she started crying, fake tears, the kind she'd used to manipulate me before. She played the victim, like I was the one who was hurting her, but it didn't matter what she said. My mind was already made up. I felt like my world was falling apart. All those years of trust gone in a second. I couldn't breathe properly. It was like I was underwater. Every word she said just made my stomach churn more. How could she lie so easily? How could she betray me like this? And Jake, my best friend, how could he do this? I never thought he'd do something like this. I trusted both of them. Turns out I was just naive. After she left the room, I just sat there, staring at the evidence. I felt a mixture of anger, sadness, and the deepest sense of betrayal I'd ever known. The worst part, I knew this wasn't going to be over anytime soon. The pain of being lied to, of finding out the woman I loved and the guy I called my friend had been secretly screwing each other over months. It's a weight I couldn't shake. It's like my chest was heavy and I couldn't get enough air. I kept wondering how I missed all the signs, how I'd been so blind. That's when I realized this wasn't just about cheating. This was about the betrayal of everything I believed in. The days that followed were a blur of anger, confusion, and a kind of numbness I can't really describe. I started questioning everything myself, her, Jake. How long had she been planning this? Did she ever really love me? Was I ever truly happy or just pretending? The pain hit me in waves, sometimes so overwhelming I thought I'd break. I'd wake up in the middle of the night, gasping for air, the images of her with Jake burning in my mind. Every time I saw her, her false smiles and fake tears made my stomach turn. I spent hours pacing around the apartment, replaying everything in my head. I couldn't understand how she could lie so effortlessly. She'd always been bitchy, quick to dismiss my feelings, but I never thought she'd be capable of such a deep betrayal. I kept asking myself, how did I miss all the signs? Was I just too blind, too in love? Or was she just pretending the whole time? The thought made me sick. She'd been planning this for who knows how long, probably secretly laughing at me behind my back. I felt so stupid for trusting her. One night after a particularly bad day, I finally sat her down and demanded answers. I told her I knew about the affair, about the hotel receipts, the texts, everything. She just looked at me with that bitchy smirk. Mike, you're overreacting. You're just jealous. Jake's my friend. We're not doing anything. You're crazy for thinking otherwise. That was her go-to, deny, deny, deny. I couldn't believe she was lying so openly, like she had no shame. She even had the nerve to tell me she loved me, that I was the man she wanted to marry. It was all bullshit. I saw right through her. Her voice was cruel when she said, "You're just insecure. Maybe you're the one messing around. Maybe I should be asking you what you've been hiding all this time." That was rich coming from her, given the mountain of evidence I had. It's like she was trying to turn the tables on me, make me the bad guy, but I wasn't falling for it. I knew she was lying, and I knew she'd been planning her escape with Jake for months. The shock of it hit me hard. It was like discovering your whole life was a lie, and you had no choice but to face the truth. I felt the anger simmering beneath the surface, but I also felt a deep sadness. I loved her, or at least I thought I did. But now, I could see she was nothing more than a manipulative, selfish woman who used me as a safety net while she played her sick game with Jake. The betrayal was so deep, so personal, that I didn't even know how to feel anymore. I kept telling myself I deserved better, that I'd be better off without her, but that didn't make the pain go away. The worst part, I realized that her bitchy, manipulative attitude was just a mask for how much she enjoyed playing her games. She always acted like she was the victim, like I was the one causing all the trouble. Her lies, her fake tears, her whole act, it was all just part of how she kept control, kept me hooked, and I'd been so blind to it all. How could I have missed it? I trusted her, but all she ever did was lie and cheat. Now that I see the truth, I feel like a fool. It's hard to look at her now without feeling this strange mixture of anger, heartbreak, and utter disgust. After that confrontation, I knew I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay. The house felt suffocating, like the walls were closing in on me. I spent the next few days in a fog, trying to process everything. Every time I saw Sarah, that bitchy smirk was there, and I'd feel my blood boil. I couldn't stand the sight of her acting innocent, acting like she hadn't just shattered my world. But deep down, I knew I had to do something, and I had to do it fast. I started by gathering more evidence. I dug through her phone again, found more messages between her and Jake. There were even plans to meet the night before our supposed wedding, as if they'd already decided to run away together. I couldn't believe I was even discovering all this now. It was like peeling back layers of a disgusting onion. Every new piece of info made my stomach turn more. How could someone I loved and trusted so completely turn out to be just a manipulative liar? I felt like I'd been punched in the gut every time I remembered something new. I knew I had to confront her again, but this time, I wanted to do it with everything laid out on the table. I wanted her to see how much I knew, how much she'd been caught. So I set a time for her to come home, told her I needed to talk. When she showed up, she was still wearing that bitchy attitude like she thought she was untouchable. I just looked at her and said, "Sarah, I know everything. The hotel, the texts, the plans to run away. You've been lying to me this whole time." She looked stunned at first, like she hadn't expected me to be so prepared, but then she snapped into her usual manipulative mode. "Mike, I don't know what you're talking about. You're crazy. You're just jealous because Jake and I are close, that's all." That's when I lost it. I told her, "No, Sarah, I'm not crazy. I've seen the proof. You've been cheating on me with my best friend right before our wedding. How long were you planning this? How long were you pretending to love me?" Her face started to twist with anger, like she hated being caught. "You don't understand anything, Mike. You're just insecure. Jake's my friend. I never did anything with him. You're just paranoid." I cut her off. "Stop lying. I saw the messages. I saw the hotel receipt. You betrayed me, Sarah. You lied about everything, about loving me, about wanting to marry me. I can't believe I ever trusted you. I thought I was marrying someone who cared about me, but it was all just a lie." Her bitchy attitude snapped into full-on defiance. "You're just jealous because I don't want to be with someone who's so insecure. Maybe I should be asking you what you've been hiding all this time." That was the last straw. I realized then that she was never going to admit she was wrong ever. She was going to keep spinning her lies, trying to turn everything around on me. I felt this strange mix of rage and heartbreak. I was furious at her, but also crushed that the woman I loved had been so insincere from the start. I stood there, feeling like my world was crashing down again. I knew I couldn't trust her anymore, not after all the lies and betrayal. That moment, I made a decision. I told her to pack her things and leave. I didn't want her in my house anymore, not after finding out she'd been planning her escape with Jake for who knows how long. She argued, of course, calling me crazy, saying I was overreacting. But I didn't care. I wanted her gone. I wanted to breathe again, to get this poison out of my life. As she stormed out, I watched her with a mix of disgust and relief. I knew things would be hard from here, the heartbreak, the anger, the betrayal, but I also knew I deserved better. I deserved someone who was honest, someone who wouldn't lie and cheat and manipulate me. The pain is still there, but over time I think I'll get through it. I just have to keep reminding myself, betrayal cuts deep, but it also teaches you who really matters. The days after she left were the worst of my life. I felt like I was walking around in a fog, trying to hold myself together but constantly falling apart inside. Every little thing reminded me of her. Her stuff still in the apartment, her voice echoing in my mind, those damn texts I found. I kept asking myself how I could have missed all the signs, how I was so blind to her bitchy, manipulative side. It was like I'd been living in some kind of nightmare that I couldn't wake up from. I spent most of my time trying to keep busy, but honestly nothing helped. Every time I thought about what she'd done, cheating on me with my best friend, planning to run off right before our wedding, it was like a punch to the stomach all over again. I couldn't believe I'd been so stupid, so trusting. I kept replaying everything in my head, trying to understand how someone I loved and trusted could be so deeply dishonest. I started questioning everything about her, her words, her actions, her fake tears. It was a sick game she played, and I was the poor fool who got played. But then I realized I needed to take control of my life again. I started blocking her from my social media, deleting all the messages and trying to focus on myself. She'd lied so much, manipulated me for months, and I knew I'd have to rebuild from the ground up. It was a hard, painful process, but I told myself I'd come out of this stronger, even if right now I felt like I'd never breathe again. One night I was sitting alone, staring at my phone when I finally decided to call Jake. I needed to hear it from him, the truth, plain and simple. I picked up, voice trembling but determined. I told him, "Jake, I know what you two have been doing. I saw the messages, the receipts. How long has this been going on? Were you ever really my friend or just a selfish bastard who used me?" There was a long silence on the line before he finally responded, sounding guilty, defensive, like he didn't want to admit the truth but knew he couldn't hide from it anymore. He stammered, trying to deny everything, but I cut him off. Save it. I've got the proof. I saw the texts. I know about the hotel. You were planning to run away with Sarah just like she wanted. Don't bother lying. You lied to me too. How could you do this? We were supposed to be best friends. His silence said everything. I could hear the guilt in his breathing. I felt a strange mixture of fury and sadness. Fury because he betrayed me, and sadness because I'd lost someone I thought was truly loyal. That's what hurts the most, realizing my trust was nothing but a lie. After we hung up, I sat in silence for a long time. I felt empty, like a part of me had been ripped out. I looked around at the apartment that once felt like home, now just a hollow shell. I had no idea where to go from here, but I knew I had to move forward. I couldn't let her betrayal define me. I couldn't keep living with the pain and anger. I had to find a way to heal, to rebuild my life without her and Jake in it. It was going to be a long road, but I was determined to get through it, even if it meant starting over from scratch. That night, I finally allowed myself to feel everything I'd been suppressing: the heartbreak, the rage, the disappointment. But underneath it all, I knew one thing for sure. I deserved better than a wife who could lie so easily, and a so-called friend who could betray me for some sex and a quick escape. I learned that trust is fragile and betrayal cuts deeper than I ever imagined. But I also learned that I'm stronger than I thought, and no matter how much it hurts now, I will eventually heal. It's been a few weeks since everything blew up, and honestly, I'm still trying to put myself back together. The house feels empty without her, like the walls are mocking me with their silence. Some nights, I lie awake thinking about how I loved her, how I thought she was my future. Now all I see are the lies, the deception, her bitchy smirk as she walked out the door, and the betrayal that cut so deep it still hurts. But amid all that pain, I've learned something crucial. I'm not going to let her or Jake define me. I've started seeing a counselor, not because I think I'm crazy, but because I need help processing all of this. Talking about it out loud helps, even if I still get angry or tear up when I think about how everything went so wrong. I've also thrown myself into work and some new hobbies. I realized I'd been so caught up in her world trying to fix things that I lost myself. Now I'm rebuilding. I'm learning how to breathe again, how to trust myself to spot the bullshit early on. Looking back, I wish I'd seen the signs sooner, but then again, maybe some people are just good at hiding who they really are. Sarah was one of those people: manipulative, bitchy, a liar. She played the victim so well I almost believed her until I found the receipts, the texts, the hotel receipt. That was my wake-up call. It hurt like hell, but it also set me free. Now I see clearly. I don't need that kind of toxicity in my life. What I want to say to anyone reading this who might be going through something similar is, trust your gut. Don't ignore those little feelings of doubt, because they're usually there for a reason. And if you find out the person you love has been cheating or lying, don't waste your time trying to fix what's broken. Cut it out, clean house, heal. Because you deserve someone who respects you, who's honest with you, and who doesn't manipulate or lie just to get what they want. I've learned that betrayal is one of the worst pains I've ever experienced, but it also taught me resilience. It's cliché, but time really does help. Slowly the anger fades, and you realize you're stronger than you thought. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know I'm better off without her. I'm moving forward a little wiser, a lot more cautious, but finally I'm starting to breathe again.